We're really here to talk about digital transformation in the construction industry. Last chance to hop out and get into the other room if you really wanted to see the manufacturing. But I think we're going to have a good time just in this room as well. So having said that, I think we can probably get into it because I do have a lot of talking to do today because it is a big exciting topic for me. And we only have 20 minutes before we hop back in the other room. Now, just if you've got a question that's a burning question, feel free to throw it in the chat or just go off mute and feel free to ask it. And then there's going to be some time in the general room as well that we can you can ask some further questions in the larger audience too. So don't hesitate to reach out and ask. So we'll just start here. A little bit about myself. My name is John Hilborn. I work for Illumiti, and I've spent almost 25 years in the construction industry, supporting both engineer-to-order companies, as well as spent over 20 years in Canada's largest publicly traded construction company. Tons of operational roles prior to moving over into the IT world as well. Ultimately, I've spent a lot of time supporting digital business transformations, process improvement, etc. Really what my job is I make sure that the operational benefits get put into your digital transformations. So over the next 20 minutes, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about my organization, and then I'm going to talk about some of the challenges in the modern construction industry today. And then I'm going to share with you a transformation case study that we've just completed with a large construction firm. And then given some time, there's a little bit of an open discussion. So, feel free. I've been around a lot. I've got a lot to say, both from an operations and from an IT perspective too. So feel free to hit me with any things that pop up. So just a little bit about Illumiti. We are a leading SAP systems integration company and consultancy. And ultimately, we're committed to delivering the technology and business transformation to ambitious clients. We don't want our clients. When we enter into a relationship with our clients, we're looking for ones that are a good fit for us. Ones that want to challenge the process, they want to improve. They don't want to just substitute out an old legacy system with something that's the same. That they want to go in and spend that time and energy into a business transformation, improve their organization. We are one of the leading implementers in North America, and we're an SAP Platinum Partner. And we just recently joined the Syntax family of companies earlier this year. So overall, the organization, looking across Illumiti and Syntax companies, we've got over 1,000 SAP customers. We've got 1,700 employees around the globe. We've done over 70 S4 implementations over the years. And our revenue is sitting right around $500 million a year. And we have 20 offices worldwide. So we're able to help and support people on a global scale. And one of the things I like to look at is really consider us a bit of a boutique shop that is big enough to help your organization from an enterprise perspective, but also small enough to give you that personal touch and drive the change and personal touch that you guys need. So let me jump into where I see the challenges in the modern construction industry. Specifically, what you should be considering when you're building your new process and implementing change in your organization. So some of those trends in the modern construction industry we're seeing today is increased project sizes and complexity. It was in the past that it was quite common for all the foremen to be able to sit around a boardroom or a site office trailer and go through with a stack of paper on a weekly basis and go through that project line for line, analyzing every little detail. Today, projects are getting way too large to be able to do that. You can't analyze an entire project on a weekly basis with a handful of foremen in a room anymore. It's just becoming too large. In addition to that, customers are also starting to demand turnkey solutions. So oftentimes we're getting involved in design build jobs. And so what this is now requiring us is to have end-to-end process integration, including those design phases, and to understand, how a design change early on affects the overall supply chain, affects the overall project. There's also shifting commercial risks to contractors. And what that means is, they're taking some of that commercial risk out of the project and putting it onto the contractors. So what this means is there's fewer cost reimbursable contracting models, leading to an increased bottom line pressure. The construction industry is already anemic with 2 to 4% profit margins on large construction jobs, and now that's becoming even tighter as there's less and less cost reimbursable models. People are shifting towards unit rate and lump sum type contracting models. So what does this mean? Well, this means that we have to control our costs better. The best way to improve our bottom line is to help get better control over our supply chain. And that means, control over material costs. That means managing our suppliers and subcontractors better, and understanding, having better planning, and then ultimately tracking that execution to plan. And the final piece that I see today in modern construction is issues around talent management. And really what this means is, we've got this aging workforce. You can go to any construction job site, and the foremen that are worth their weight in gold are all starting to retire. They're getting old. And really what we need to be doing is we need to be investing in trades in a younger generation. We need to make sure that we're properly training. We need to have in place, we need to monitor and maintain them so that we're retaining those employees. And then ultimately, with COVID, we see more than anything is personal safety has presented a tremendous amount of new challenges into our industry. To make sure that we're retaining these people, we're keeping them safe, and we're still being able to execute a job without impacting our costs too much. So given these trends, what should you be considering for your business transformation moving forward? Really, we want to consider a solution that's going to help you bridge the gap between planning and execution. Traditionally, construction industry is all about execution. It's all about boots on the ground and shovels on the ground. And typically, there's some early planning during the bid and execution phase, but it's not a tight integration between plan and execution. Moving forward, to make sure that you've got predictable results, make sure that you've got, you're evaluating and course correcting and driving innovation, you must be tracking your planning to your execution. You want to make sure that your actuals are timely and accurate. So often in the past, we would wait a week for our payroll to come into our project results. We would wait for the month to have our subcontractors information coming in. It's very difficult to course correct to understand where you sit with your project if you're waiting weeks or even months to get the data in. So ideally, you want to make sure that you're getting data as quick as possible. You want to be able to analyze that live operational data against your plan, and that allows you to course correct. And you also want to find any deviations and opportunities using analytics. You no longer can you sit in that room with a ream of paper and going through each lines. You actually want the systems to be predictive and identifying early some challenges or issues that you may have, so that way you can put in the right recovery plans. Of course, you want to give instantaneous feedback directly to the site, because that's where the decisions are being made. That's where the execution is really being done. It doesn't matter if the information is going to a back office somewhere. You really need to have critical information flowing to the job sites easily. And of course, all this empowers that operational team to drive innovation. If they know that they need to do things a little bit differently, if they're given that empowerment to do things a little bit differently, they can drive innovation and they can drive improvements in the plan. And ultimately, you want to really build a solution that's going to support future growth. As we're starting to invest in revisiting our aging ERP systems, we want to make sure that we're putting in good, solid solutions that are going to help support us moving forward. Do some of these considerations or some of these challenges resound with the group? Okay. I'm going to move along just in the interest of time, because it looks like we've got about 10 minutes to go. These are fast and furious sessions. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a case study. So we recently implemented a large S4 implementation at a large construction company. This construction company, this case study isn't in the public domain yet, so I have to be just a little bit careful around identifying who the company is specifically. But what I can tell you is, this is a company that is not unlike other large construction companies. This is a company that's existed for over 100 years. It was founded in the early 1900s and has grown over the years ever since. And it's created a great legacy across the nation. So they're active in all 50 states across the United States, and they're supported by over 4,000 employees. Now, interesting enough is this company is operating on a legacy ERP that was over 20 years old. And over the years, it's really been supported by a patchwork of applications over the years. So one of their major considerations was really that need for that application rationalization. They wanted to make sure that they had a single source of truth for as much of their information as possible. So again, a big part of this decision was how do I go into a solution that is going to get rid of a lot of these redundant systems, that I'm no longer doing multiple entries in different areas, and I can go to one spot for all my information. They're also looking for truly a business-driven transformation. They didn't want to rip out the existing ERP and just transplant it with another ERP that did the exact same thing. They really wanted to take the effort and time to take a look at their business processes, understand where they would get the most operational benefit, and then drive the change in the process into those areas. And they're really looking to gain better control over costs. Like with most construction companies during these times right now, they're starting to face rapidly skyrocketing material costs, incredibly competitive market for skilled talent. And they really needed to keep those projects moving. So they really needed to have better control over costs and understand where they are in their projects. So really, as a result of this business transformation, they wanted to come out of it with some really simple goals, and that was really to be able to control their costs better, to manage their staff better, to improve retention of that staff because it's very expensive to replace and train the staff, and then ultimately minimize any cost escalations. So why did they select SAP? Well, when they looked at all the solutions out there, really what they found was SAP was best positioned platform to help meet their future vision. So again, keeping the eye on not necessarily just ripping out what they have and putting something in that does exactly what they have. They understand that there was constraints to what they had, and in order to meet sort of future vision, they need to have a nice solid digital backbone to build off of. Ultimately, they wanted to simplify and streamline their enterprise solution overall and get rid of a lot of those disparate systems. So application rationalization became key. And they wanted to include many of those applications. SAP really included a lot of those applications that they had developed over the years. So one of the concerns was, they built certain applications over the past time. They wanted to make sure that they could, not have to reproduce those or carry those in. They wanted to make sure that they're being replaced by new best-in-class or new best process applications that met their needs. And then overall, they wanted to really improve that user experience and consolidate all that data into a single platform. And in fact, this company spent 18 months before they even launched their ERP process, just understanding the legacy data that they had, understanding how they wanted to treat their legacy data, understand what type of information data they wanted to bring in. And then they also wanted to make sure that across their enterprise landscape, where the source of truth for each of these pieces of information was. And they had to make some solid decisions to make sure once they had that information, once they knew where they wanted to go, the project became much easier. So why did they pick Illumiti? Well, Illumiti to them was the right partner because they really needed a partner that could help them upgrade their existing business processes into an SAP-friendly best practice. They wanted a company that was going to be able to challenge them on their processes. And really, they didn't have any experience with SAP. And they needed a partner that understood the construction industry and had empathy towards their business as well. And so again, they wanted a partner that would challenge them to think about how work could be done in the future, not necessarily how it was done 20 years ago or 30 years ago or even 100 years ago. They wanted to think about how they could reinvent and reinnovate how they do their work. And then with extensive experience in SAP implementation, and we had a shared commitment of digging in to overcome some deep challenges, we were the right partner. And then we had experience with similar implementations and also a strong track record in adjacent sectors. With construction companies, there's no one construction company that's the same. They all have various levels of vertical integration, and they all have the different nuances to them. So they needed to have a company that had enough a broad spectrum of knowledge that could help support and overcome a lot of their challenges in some of those unique aspects of their organization. So the transformation, how did that go? Really, COVID hit really at the wrong time, and the whole project team had to pivot. And although this was going to be a traditional project with an on-site project team, really COVID stopped that, and then we had to pivot and become a completely remote project. That was a fun challenge, and we were able to do that. The construction company also, construction companies manage projects better than anybody. So they wanted to run this IT project the way they would run a construction project, which is an interesting challenge. So again, we needed to sort of adapt our own approaches to make sure that the project ran smoothly along the expectations of this particular customer. Two interesting pieces that we were able to help with is, first of all, construction forecasting. Construction forecasting is a very difficult thing for any ERP to handle. But we've done a lot of this with previous clients, previous customers, and we're able to put together a solution relatively quickly to solve that. The other area that was a particular note to this client that they were really appreciative of is field payroll. So when we start talking about field payroll and some of the challenges there, we really need to understand some of the stuff like the Davis-Bacon Act and prevailing wage. We need to be able to navigate through hundreds of different union agreements and things like that, and understand requirements. So having said that, it was we're able to put together a nice field payroll solution for them and met all their needs, and supports things like prevailing wages and union agreements, etc. And that worked out very successfully. Moving forward, this construction company is happily looking for the future. They've got a nice solid foundation to help build their future success. They're already taking a look at some of the areas that they want to start to excel at as well, and sort of invest in the future to become more innovative and profitable. In summary, really, key success, we want to invest in understanding the differentiation that your company has or wants to have, and really focus on process improvement where it matters. And so if the self-performance work is where your company needs to succeed, then you want to really focus your efforts on how do we do self-perform reporting better. You also understand your data and consolidate into one place, understanding where your source of truth is going to be across all your applications, because you're never going to get down to a singular application, but it's important to understand the data relationships between the applications. And really we'll want to carefully consider your business requirements going forward, so that way you're removing the right applications and you're keeping the right applications. So some of the tools are important to the business, and they're important for a reason. You really want to choose a partner that's got good business empathy and industrial expertise. It's really important because they can help challenge you, and they can help show you a vision that you may not understand. And then, of course, you want to invest in training your processes and be mindful of performance and efficiencies. If you introduce new processes that are inefficient or create more work for people are not going to adopt them. So, in importance of adoption and growth, you want to make sure that you're being mindful of your efficiencies of the new processes. Of course, develop lessons learned and for consideration of future growth. Now, having said that, it looks like my timer just ran out, so I think that we're all going to get thrown out of this room.